Hey, what's up, guys? So today I'm going to be showcasing my second place deck profile from Las Vegas. I came second with my team, Hanse and Sam, so shout out to those guys. They were absolutely amazing. We all played the same deck list, but I was going to do a more in-depth explanation on the card by card and kind of talk about how we were so successful over the weekend. We actually went undefeated in Swiss, going first after Swiss, and so as a result, we're actually getting a playset of the giant card for Glutonia. So that's gonna be really sick. So when that comes in the mail, I'll definitely showcase that off on stream or something along those lines. And yeah, obviously we won all the way out from Swiss into top cut, losing out only in the finals. But yeah, the deck is really good. And I think Pure is by far the best deck of the format, mainly because it has the ability to tech a lot of non-engine cards in order to give you the highest percentage to win games. Some games you can't control.
Why does Pac look pissed ever since the event? I would say Pac has always done the videos he's doing at home usually have this kind of calm energy, no?
But I think maybe that if you can gain a 5% edge or a 5% boost to your win rate, throughout any matches, that compounds over the course of the event, gives you the best chance at winning the YCS, right? So I also want to give a huge shouts to my homies Gunther and Walter, Luca. They were my three main testing partners.
I mean, he did tell me that it was rough for him because this was actually the first time he's lost the finals. And he was like, yeah, that experiencing that for the first time is terrible. I just told him, dude, it's fine. It's part of the process. It happens to the best of us. I mean, especially the best are going to experience that at some point because you're more likely to make it to more finals and then eventually you're going to lose one. Right. And so I was like, don't worry too much about it. It's part of the process. You're going to have another chance at it at some point. I'm sure of that. So yeah, I mean, I can imagine the first it being the first finals that he's lost can be frustrating, but he's gonna get over it. I'm sure. He's got that mentality to him. I think he's gonna bounce back.
And Sam leading up to YCS Vegas and Costa Rica. Those guys are absolutely insane. Walter's also starting up a coaching gig soon as well, so if you guys are interested in trying to get better, definitely go check that out. But yeah, and of course you can check out Christian Yugioh as well in the description box below. But
Pac's record in finals of Premier events is 3-1. I think so. Yeah, I mean he said it was the first time he lost, and he has 3 YCS wins, so it must be 3-1. Yeah.
To like the card by card. So we all played pure Snake Eye. You obviously start with the 3 Snake Eye Ash. So a lot of these ratios will be pretty standard, right? 3 Snake Eye Ash, 2 Snake Eye Poplar, and then the 1 Oak. These are probably all you really need. And then obviously the 2 Flamberge. The reason why you have to play 2 Flamberge is mainly because it allows you to play through Nibiru. By
Gamba on the QCRs.
So it's really strong for when you go
a little late now.
Side usually one comes out.
We can still count.
Yeah, so that's the main reason. A lot of the combo lines requires 2, and if you guys want to see,
I'm gonna just throw a number out there. I'm gonna say 27.
Some combos with that, I can definitely showcase that off as well. 3.
Okay, you guys need to chill. You guys need to calm down with this. Okay, what did I say? I said 27. This is already 4. This is gonna be set. Oh, I think I put too low.
Really
oh no, I put too low.
You want to maximize
7 already. We're already at 7.
The format is, I guess, shaping up to be a hand trap heavy format. So whoever has more engine cards.
Only main deck. Yeah, let's just say I meant only main deck. Yeah. Yeah, let's just say that's what I meant. Yeah.
Will usually end up on top because hand trapping your opponent isn't enough to win. You also need your own ways to play. So maxing out these cards are really strong. The reason why Witch is so unique and so powerful, especially in the pure deck, is because we play Baron. So a lot of level 3 tuners actually convert Witch into a Baron, which is one of the cards that will win you a lot of games in the long run as well. And I'll show you that when we get to the hand trap lineup, that because of a lot of the hand traps are level 3 tuners, the fact that they can convert with Witch into a Baron is like absolutely insane, right? And then we play the 1 Jet Synchron. A lot of people like cut this card. I think that's not correct, because I think Jet Synchron enables a lot of really strong plays and gives you the ability to play through Nibiru with Ash Wish, which I thought was really clean. And
so I've been one of the people that said you could potentially cut Jet Synchron, and I still believe you can. My reasoning being that when everyone, as long as everyone is doing like 18 hand trap lists, I feel like my chance to get to Jet Synchron is very minimal. Like, I'm just not getting to that card, I feel like. At least in practice, when I've been playing the deck against the other decks that have so many hand traps, I just felt like I wasn't getting to the Jet Synchron anyways, right? That being said, it can still be a fine draw, because you can like pitch it for Diabellstar and then have it be another option in the graveyard. So it's not like it ruins your deck if you play the Jet Synchron. What I was more inclined to cut it for was the fact that if you take the Jet Synchron out, you get a lot of extra deck space. That's what I was looking like. That was what was looking good for me personally, is the fact that, like, if you build the deck without Jet Synchron, you have a lot more flexibility in your extra deck, and the ability to play all the utility links is something that I think can help you out. Obviously, the fact that you can play around Nibiru with the Jet Synchron line with like Diabellstar and Ash, if you can make the early Savage. However, I think I mean, matter of fact is that with 1 Ash, there already is a line to play around Nibiru, right? Like, there's already a line to play around Nibiru with 1 Snake Eye Ash with using the Temple, right? So, like, surely, if you have Ash plus Witch, you can still find a good line. Like, there's still probably a good line to play around Nibiru. You can work it out and see what the best way is, but, like, if 1 Ash can play through Nibiru, then Ash plus Diabellstar has to also be able to play through Nibiru. So yeah, and honestly, my reasoning is the following, right? If I open Ash and Diabellstar and my opponent has no hand traps, I'm winning anyways, right? I'm winning anyways if I open Ash, Diabellstar, Snake Eye Ash and Diabellstar, and they don't have a hand trap. No matter, I feel like I'd be winning. I feel like I'd be winning no matter what, most of the time. And then if I do get hand trapped, I'm still not getting my Jet Synchron access anyways. I don't know, the pure board without Jet isn't absurd. Well, I mean, it's not an auto win, but I would be confident, especially if you are on this version and you play 18 hand traps yourself. It's like you're gonna have the pure board plus 1 or 2 hand traps. It would end up like your opponent has the chance to play into it, but I would be I would be confident in my ability to win often enough. Like, you'd probably have to fight for it a little bit more than if you had a Baron and a Savage, but like, I'd probably be okay, to be honest. Like, it'd be fine most of the time, if you use your interruptions well and all that, I think.
Makes your end board strong, so that.
But that being said, the Jet Synchron itself is not the card I have an issue with. Like, the Jet Synchron in the main deck, I don't think is that terrible of a draw. Like, it's a fine pitch for Diabellstar, which you play 6 copies of, right? You have other ways to get it into the graveyard, right? You can discard it for like a Nightmare Phoenix and have the free extender from it. I don't mind the Jet Synchron as a card. He also plays 1-for-1, I'm pretty sure, for the discard. Like, I don't think the Jet Synchron itself is a bad card. It's just that in practice you don't get to it very often, and you could free up the extra deck space for other cards, which not all of them are necessary, but like the option to have those cards at least is nice.
People decide to play board breakers.
You should watch Gabe's profile. Him and Paulo played pure without Jet and got 3rd. We could look at that as well if we have time for it.
It also gives you the ability to make an Omni Negate to protect like your Floodgate if you have any. and it makes it so that you lose to like random board breakers like evenly or something along those lines as well. So
No, Jesse
I thought
cast
this
is
card
still
was, like,
happening.
really nice. And it, like, you know, Jet Synchronous also has 2 monsters because it's like one by itself, and then it can summon back itself, and then and then it gets recycled constantly by Oak. So I think this card is like really strong. That's it for like the monster. And then I kind of want to talk about the 3 Lullaby of Obedience. This card is like really strong. And what we were doing with this card was what no one else was really doing. And the reason why this card was in the main deck was because we kind of came to the agreement that we are looking to not just top the event but win the event. And this card is absolutely insane in top cut because you in theory should know what everyone's playing. So this card is just like absolutely the nuts. But I actually played I think all fire from round 1 all the way to the finals. I haven't played a non-fire deck the entire YCS, and my teammates only played 2 non-fires each. So we made the call that like everyone should be on fire for the YCS, so that's why this card would be absolutely insane. And the way this card works is that you pay 2,000 life points and you declare a monster card name, and
This searches Maxi with Princess in Master Duel. Yeah, I mean that is one of the cool things about this card is that with Princess, there actually are some real synergies because your opponent cannot special summon for you. Because it is still your opponent chooses the effect, but it's still you that does it, right? Like you would be special summoning. So if you cannot special summon the card, they have to give it to your hand, right? So for example, if you're under summon limit, you can Lullaby call a hand trap. They have to give it to you in your hand. Vice versa, like if you're under draw, I believe the way it works is you can just call a name and they have to special it for you. So like there's some really cool things you can do with Lullaby. But I think the main takeaway is that this card is just really good whenever you're in a format where you can rely on your opponent playing the same deck as you are playing, like, which I will say, I think in a 3v3 YCS, this works a lot better or even better than in a 1v1 YCS, because I feel like maybe that's just my impression as someone who hasn't played in a 3v3 YCS before. But I feel like 3v3 YCSs in terms of the deck choices and all that are a little bit more competitive. Right? It's a little bit more competitive, I feel like. I feel like there's a bigger incentive to play the best decks in the format if you're teaming up with 2 friends and all that. But I mean, the current format in general is like very fitting for Lullaby. But yeah, I think Pack explains all the things I'm about to say anyway, so
your opponent either gives you the option of summoning to your field or adding it to your hand. And even against like decks that aren't fire, we like made like plans in terms of like, oh, we just call the cards like Ash Blossom because it's a free level 3 extender to our side of the field, and they can be turned into a Baron with the Witch. And it also is really nice because it puts a fire monster in our opponent's graveyard, which allows you to actually do some really sick Lullaby combos. And Lullaby,
this is another big deal. Like in the current format, if you're going second, and you know your opponent is not playing a fire deck, you can still call Ash Blossom, which is a big deal, right? And like you either get it to your hand and you can use it later, or you just get the fire extender on the field, which is fine, like, or good rather.
Actually enables better combo lines than the regular Ash Witch lines. So
can you Ash Blossom on Lullaby? Yeah, you should be able to, because both effects do something that can be ashed, I think, because it's either adding or special summoning from deck. So yeah, you can ash it, I'm pretty sure.
We wanted to basically have 3 more copies of Bonfire, 3 more copies of Witch in our deck. And another cool part about Lullaby is that one of the ways you beat summon limit, this is like kind of like the hidden goo, that when you go like normal summon Ash, special Poplar, you get summon limited, you can go Lullaby of Obedience, call like Ash Blossom, and by doing so, your opponent has a summon limit face up, and they have to go, if they go normal summon Ash, they can't use the effect. Then if they go Ash effect to tag yourself out and send their own summon limit to the grave, you can just Ash it, and then they need like another extender to keep playing. So the fact that this card also grabs you a hand trap going second is like very versatile. And then going first, one of the cool plays with Lullaby of Obedience is that if you make Promethean Princess, you can then activate Lullaby of Obedience, call like Nibru, and it gets added to your hand because you can't summon a non Fire Monster. So I thought that was really, really neat as well. So this card was like really, really insane.
The Promethean Princess interaction is pretty cool because you can just say like, yeah, I want Nibiru in my hand, I want Droll in my hand, I want Effect Veiler in my hand. If you think your opponent's playing it, of course. If they're not playing it, then you're not getting anything from it, but pretty cool interaction with Promethean Princess.
I had no complaints about it the entire weekend, and I thought that this was like the edge that our deck needed to perform at the YCS because, like I said, this card was engine, non-engine. It was basically 3 Joker in your entire deck.
Some people in chat have been asking if this card, like going second, isn't it just the same as like, or like is Mermaid made to order Mermaid Outfittery or whatever it's called, that normal spell card? Is also an interesting card, I think. I think the key difference here is that that card doesn't work when you go first, and this card does, right? That's why you can like main deck it, because it's just basically 3 more engine pieces, but also helps you break boards going second, because I mean it's an extender. So it's a good card. But the Mermaid card is like slightly worse than it because it only works going second. And for just going second, I don't think it's that good. Which one? Okay, so hold up. It's called like Made to Order Mermaid Outfitter. This card. I've seen people talk about it, and I think it is an interesting card, but once again, it's like similarly to Phantasme, it doesn't work in most strategies. Like, target a card in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, then you can add 1 card from your deck to your hand with the same name as the banished card. You can only activate 1 per turn. So that I think it's a solid card, because what you can do with it is, for example, banish your opponent's Poplar and then add a Poplar from your deck to your hand and special it, right? To play through something like Imperm on your Snake Eye Ash. It's a solid card. The one cool thing about it is that it also takes level 1s out of your opponent's graveyard, right? So that maybe you can run them out of targets for Flamberge. That's one thing you can do. Like, that's one thing you try to do with Soul Release. The problem is like that they usually have 3 level 1s in the graveyard, right? They usually have 3 level 1s in the graveyard, meaning that banishing 1 doesn't actually do that much. So yeah, I think it's a solid card though. I think it would be like, I think one deck where you can think about it is if you play Fire King Snake Eye yourself and you want to side a card against other Fire King Snake Eyes. I think this one's actually quite good because you can like banish their only Garunix to search your Garunix. And if the only Garunix gets banished, I think that's pretty big. That's a big deal. But yeah, it's a solid card.
We have 3.
Toshino, thank you for the 13 months. Also, Hawkeyes, thank you for the 8 month. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Bonfire, right? Obviously, basically just Rhoda. Not much to say about that.
I really like enemy controller for the Snake Eye mirrors. Being able to dodge Imperm and Veiler is huge. I think that board breaker, like the board breaker approach for Snake Eyes is possible and very interesting. And I'm probably going to try it for one of my regionals next month. We're probably going to build it on stream. Because, like, I'm very excited to play this format. But the one thing I am definitely not going to do is just enter my regional with, like, 18 hand traps in my deck and try to compare opening hands with my opponent. Right? Like, we're probably going to mess around with that in some capacity. Like, some way to, like, board breaker approach or something like that. Because I want to try and innovate on the Snake Eye deck rather than just playing the 18 hand trap deck that everyone's playing and just compare opening hands.
3 wanted. This card was absolutely nasty because of the free card advantage you get, like the +1. I thought this card was like super nice. So nothing else to say about that. 1 Divine Temple and then 1 original. Just pretty standard. We want to play like just minimum engine. Like, you know, like concise. Like, not, you don't really need to play more original. You don't really need to play more Divine Temple. So I thought that was really clean. And then lastly, one for one. This was the 41st card. I kind of convinced the team to like add this card in because I just felt that like I need as many pushes as possible. And I think this was like basically another push in the deck. That was like the next, like,
how many QCRs are we at? I think 12.
Basically another bonfire, etc. So I just wanted to maximize my starters. Especially because we're already playing Lullaby as well. Like, I just wanted as many ways to play the game as possible. Do we
ban Reincarnated Engage? What does that mean? What is Reincarnated Engage?
And then for the non-engine, we played 3 Ash Blossom, right? 3 Nibiru, I think this is like kind of like the best.
Oh, Wanted. I do have an issue with the Wanted card. Like, the Dia Bellstar package itself, I feel like is fine. Like, I think Dia Bellstar is a pretty cool card. And I said before, like, I said before that I liked the design behind the engine, because it's kind of like, you have 3 different cards, right? You have Dia Bellstar, you have Wanted, you have Original Sinful Spoils. What I thought was cool about it, or what I still think is cool about it, is that it doesn't matter which of the 3 you draw, they all technically work, right? They all get you to the level 1 fire monster. They don't provide, like, none of the 3 cards is a brick in your deck per se, right? Like, they're all, and because that's what I hate the most. I hate engines that have engine requirements that are bricks. I don't like that. I hate putting bricks into my deck. That is one of the, that is probably my least favorite thing about modern Yu-Gi-Oh deck building, is when I have to play bricks in my deck. I don't want to do that. I hate that. That's also, Gamma is a good card, but I didn't like Gamma for that reason. Brave Engine, Adventure Engine, great engine, but for that reason I didn't enjoy playing with it. I hate it. I hate drawing a card that is useless, and I'm like, god damn it. Okay, my bad. Why am I forced to play this in my deck, right? Because the deck overall, the engine overall is really good, but why am I forced to play this one card in my deck, right? And I didn't realize beforehand how often I say that, by the way. So what I thought was cool, or what I think is cool about the Wanted engine, is that it doesn't give you that, right? It's an engine consisting of different cards, but none of them is actually a brick. I think that's really cool. What I don't like about it is that there's such a big difference between drawing Wanted or drawing Dia Bellstar, right? Because if I draw Dia Bellstar, I summon Dia Bellstar, I get my Sinful Spoil, I use it, and that's it, right? If I draw Wanted, I'm doing the same thing, but I also draw a card, right? It's just so much better, right? And so even though Dia Bellstar itself is still a great card and still good to draw, whenever you do draw it, you still feel like, why is it not Wanted? You know, Wanted is so much better. And whenever your opponent draws Wanted, it's also kind of frustrating. You know how I feel? You know how I feel? Like, it's like my opponent draws Wanted and I'm like, why do they also get a free draw on top of all of that, right? Like, why is it not just Dia Bellstar, right? So this kind of, it kind of induces frustration, I feel like, because Wanted is so much better, right? Wanted dies to draw harder? No, it doesn't, because you can just use it in the draw phase. Or you can chain it to Droll Lockbird. Like, Wanted actually, because it's a quick play spell, Droll Lockbird does not matter at all for Wanted. Sometimes you don't get the draw with Wanted in the graveyard if you get drolled, but that's still the same as if you had Dia Bellstar, right? Isn't it better to wait for turn 3 to add a level 1? I mean, you can. It depends. Like, you can choose whether you want the draw now or later, obviously. But, like, still, the fact that you can just get a free draw on turn 1 on top of everything you're doing already is just, it's just, outrageous is the wrong word. Outrageous is too strong of a word. But, like, Wanted is definitely, out of all those cards, I think Wanted is the one I have the biggest issue with, because it's so much better than the others, right? Because Dia Bellstar and Original Sinful Spoils are 2 really good cards, but I think they are balanced just right. Whereas, like, Wanted is the one that's just a little bit over the top, I feel like.
Best approach, the 3 Veiler.
If that makes sense.
The 3 Droll Lockbird, the 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then the 2.
Okay, so we were at 12. That puts us to 18, 24. Ghost Mourner doesn't count because it's a Starlight, not a quarter century. So that's 24. 27 was too low. 27 was too low.
Ghost Mourner. Shout out to Gamer's Choice for this. Also, by the way, guys, I use Team Samurai X1 sleeves, Supreme Pros. That was also our team name, the entire YCS. So if you guys are interested,
the fact that it shuffles from Banished is wild. The fact that it recycles Banished cards, I actually don't take any, like, I don't have an issue with that. I actually like cards. I like it when decks have the ability to recycle cards, because those are games that I really enjoy, when, like, you have ways to get your cards back into your deck and for you to last longer, essentially. Because I just like those kind of grindy games. I find it very annoying to just, like, lose a game because I ran out of a specific card, right? Like, it's just like, huh? So you like Rika Petal? No, Rika Petal is a cool card, yeah. Rika Petal is a cool card. I have no issue with any of the Rika cards. The Sun Avalon part that I'm not enjoying, but the Rika cards are cool.
Trying to get like the best sleeves in the game, you guys can definitely go check that out at ticketsfilm.com and use pack 10 for 10% off. And also, if you guys are interested in any like additional merchandise or accessories for your Yu-Gi-Oh game, you can also go check out sleevechiefs.de and then use pack 5 for 5% off. They have a
Wait, Josh, you aren't sick today and playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth to get well? I would never do that. I would never act like I'm sick just to play a video game and leave you guys hanging. I don't do that. But I'm not into Final Fantasy anyways. I mean, I just haven't really played it. I have nothing against it. I just haven't played it.
Crazy restock on sleeves at the moment. But basically, you'll see that the last couple of cards in the deck is we decided to not main crossout, which is what we did in Brazil, but rather
Imperm
play
skew.
more
No,
hand
I already counted the Imperm. It's 24 in the main deck.
You just have to overwhelm your opponents with the chance to draw 3. When you draw 3 hand traps, it doesn't matter if your opponent has crossout because they can only cross out 1 hand trap, and like 2 usually stops your opponent. So you want to maximize your chances of drawing 3 hand traps. Ghost Warner was absolutely insane. We can only fit 2, and we sided the 3rd copy for side patterns, but the Mourner was a level 3 hand trap that allowed you to actually make Baron with the Witch, which came up a couple times, and I thought it was really nice. Valor and Joel.
Is Moonlit really that good? I would rather play Rabbit. What is Rabbit? Oh, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. I've never heard someone refer to that as Rabbit. I was confused for a second. Mourner is a card that I think it is like the 6 or 7 best hand trap in the format. And that's why it makes it into this deck, because we're already playing all the others. I think Moonlit is not good if it's your only hand trap. But if you pair it with others, I think it's good. Like, for example, if you have an Imperm and a Mourner, like if you Imperm Snake Eye Ash, and then you have a Mourner in case they have an extender, that's pretty good, I think. So I do like Mourner in this super heavy hand trap approach, where you play with so many hand traps that you want to pair them and you draw 2 or 3 hand traps consistently. I think Mourner is fine. Yeah. I think my main problem with other hand traps, the following. So there are some hand traps that you guys are mentioning that are actually viable cards right now. Bell, Ghost Ogre, and DD Crow are 3 of those, which I think are good cards in their own right against the Snake Eye deck. The problem with those is I actually don't think they have great synergy with the Imperm Valor approach that everyone is taking, right? Because I think if you have a DD Crow, like DD Crow plus Imperm doesn't really pair that well together, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they go normal summon Snake Eye Ash, you're like, I'm gonna Imperm that, and then they have if they have an extender, what is your Crow gonna do realistically, right? Like, what is your Crow really accomplishing in that spot? Or like your Bell maybe, or your Ghost Ogre, right? It's like, they don't really work in those kind of decks where you try to stop your opponent from playing, because DD Crow, Ghost Ogre, and Bell are all relatively good late in the combos, right? I think Bell is fine if you pair it with Nibiru, because you can like Nibiru the Flamberge and then Bell it in the graveyard. That's fine. But I don't like Crow, Bell, Ogre if you pair them with so many hand traps. I think those would be, I think Crow, Bell, Ogre are hand traps you could consider if you're playing a board breaker approach, right? Because I think the best thing you can Ghost Ogre against the deck is like an IP Masquerena, probably, that the Flamberge summons, or the Formula Synchron, right? Those are good cards you can Ghost Ogre against Snake Eye. Yeah, so just if your approach is I'm gonna let them do the full combo, I don't want to play into talents at all, right? I don't want to play into talents at all, so I'm just gonna use my Ghost Ogre on my own turn on their Masquerena. That's a fine approach, right? That's a fine approach. Plus, Ghost Ogre is also good in some other matchups. Like I think it's pretty good against Voiceless Voice, for example, because you can Ghost Ogre the barrier. So for that, it'd be fine. But for this particular version of the deck with like so many hand traps, I don't like it.
We're both at 6 copies or like maxed out because when you go Lullaby and you pitch a Droll or a Veiler for like the Witch, it allows you to pretty much go for like Celine lines for free Apollo on top of your end board. So the fact that these cards
they're both spellcasters, that's true.
With cards that allows you to extend your plays even further was exceptional. And yeah, but yeah, we decided to basically play 17 hand traps in the main deck because we basically came to the realization that 15 was not enough, which sounds crazy.
Would you say Fire decks should play Bell alongside Nibiru instead of Ash Blossom? I mean, you just say Fire decks. It's a very generic term. It depends. I think in this version, I think Ash pairs better with Veiler or Imperm than Bell. Like, I don't see Imperm and Bell as a great pairing, for example, right? And like the most common form of hand trap in this deck is effect negation, right? You have 3 Veiler, 3 Imperm. You have 6 of those. Even if you count the Mourners, you have 8 effect negations, right? And like Ash Blossom pairs well with those, but I don't think Bell does that much, right? Bell only really pairs well with the Nibiru, I think. So I don't know how much I like that. Ash checkmates extenders. Exactly, yeah. Like Ash is not great on their normal summon. Like both Ash Blossom and Ghost Mourner are not good on their normal summon, right? When they go normal summon Snake Eye Ash, obviously can't Mourner that, and Ash Blossom is also not great on that. But like if you have an effect Veiler or you have an infinite impermanence on the normal summon, then Ash Blossom is really good because it can eliminate Bonfire or Diabellstar into the Sinful Spoil spell from their possible list of extenders.
Yeah, I know. And so we decided to like full send the approach and just play as many as possible. And also we consider Lullaby better than Crossout actually, because Crossout only works when you have ways to play already. Lullaby with both an extender and a starter, while Crossout was only an extender, and that's why we decided to main Lullaby of Obedience instead. So that was like the other consideration. So yeah, Lullaby just comboed better than like basically if you open like Lullaby Witch, it was like better than opening Witch Crossout. And so that's why Lullaby ended up being better, because it made your 2-card combos better, while Crossout just made sure your 1-card combo resolve. But the 2-card combo with like Lullaby Witch already plays through any single little hand trap your opponent can have. So it's basically as if you cross out your opponent, and if they don't have any hand traps, you get a free Savage at the end of their turn. So I hope that makes sense in terms of list. But yeah, the deck was...
That makes sense, assuming you were playing against Fire decks, right? Like if you're under the assumption, hey, everyone is playing the Fire deck right now, then Lullaby I think is better than Crossout for the most part. Like I would agree with that. Of course, if you pair into a Voiceless Voice deck, it's not going to be comparable.
41 cards in the main deck. Wish I could have played 40, but 41 I think was fine. Now we're gonna go into like the side deck. So we decided to play like maximum amounts of Bystials, and we decided to play
that is not the maximum amount of Bystials, but okay.
1 Baldric and 1 Serenair, basically like unique Beady Crows, because we do play a lot of hand traps, and like if we draw multiples, we don't want like 2 Druids from our hands, but it was like the 5th Bystial. But we rather draw like 1 Serenair, 1 Druid than like 2 Druids. We rather draw like 1 Serenair, 1 Baldric. We also want the potential to like maybe sack our opponent with 1 Baldric, 1 Druid, maybe
max names. Yeah.
So it's just like the flexibility in having multiple Bystials was better. And this card was really good against, like, the idea was to put this in against Voiceless, Branded, anything of those sorts. So I thought that was really nice.
I mean,
and also,
I'm a huge fan of Bystials. You guys know that. I try to play Bystials whenever I can, whenever it makes sense. I think they're good right now because Voiceless Voice is like the 2nd most popular deck behind Fire decks, I feel like. And it also covers a lot of rogue stuff like Branded. I think it's good. And the I actually thought it was interesting because I saw people in the YCS that even sided the Bystials against pure Snake Eye, because like you can hit when they go for If they have the Witch combo, they can go for Savage to try and equip the Link Karibo, and you can Bestial the Link Karibo, so they don't get an Omni Negate with Savage, and you get the body on the board. Or if they go for another line and they try to put IP Masquerena into the Spell and Trap Zone, or Formula Synchron with Flamberge, you can Bestial that, and that's pretty cool. So I actually think they are good against the pure Snake Eye deck. My problem here is I don't know if Pack was siding them against Snake Eye. I would be interesting to hear from Pack if he sided them against pure Snake Eye as well. Because if you play 17 hand traps in the main deck already, I'm not sure if your opponent consistently gets to IP Masquerena or Savage Dragon. But if they do, then I guess you have like a failsafe.
You can also potentially side it in for like the pure mirror match because you can hit like the Karibo to stop them from having an Omni Negate or hit their IP. And so, but we ended up not doing that, but it's just something to think about. We're putting
they didn't
Ghost
do
Spell as well.
Is that what he said? Hold on.
It allows us to cover the mirror match.
I think he said he didn't do that.
Them from having an Omni. You can also potentially side it in for like the pure mirror match because you can hit like the Karibo to stop them from having an Omni Negate or hit their IP. And so, but we ended up not doing that, but it's just something to think about. We're putting
they didn't do that, which makes sense. I think in this version, I also wouldn't do that. In this version, I also wouldn't do that, but in another version of the deck, I could see myself doing that 100%.
3 Ghost Spell as well because it allows us to cover the mirror match, but then also cover like the Voiceless matchup. So we just wanted something to help with that. The last Mourner because our side pattern made
oh yeah, so this looks like a horrible matchup for Voiceless Voice if there's 5 Bestials plus Bell. Like if you're playing... That seems like your main deck is super well made against the mirror matches, but then if you ever face Voiceless Voice, Branded, even Labyrinth with the bells, like you still have a really, really good matchup post-siding against those.
When you side out the one Jet Synchron, you also have another copy of Mourner in place of the Jet, so you have another hand trap to like combat your opponent when you win second. And then, of course, for going first cards, because there's so many non-engine in the format, we want to maximize our chance of winning when we go first. So
okay, so that's 27 and that's 30. So
7 limit, 3 cross out, just to make sure that when we go first, we are more than likely to essentially win the game. So I think
summon limit, honestly, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh right now, I think summon limit is the most disgusting floodgate probably. Like anti-spell is also up there, but yeah, summon limit is so annoying.
That makes sense. For the extra deck,
I have no problem with Snake Eyes. I just hate that you can play 17 to 18 hand traps. I'm kind of on the same in the same boat. I agree with you. Like I like the Snake Eye deck. I like the Snake Eye engine. I don't like the way it's being played right now because I don't like the gameplay that's being presented when both players are playing like 18 hand traps. Like the amount of times where you just desperately try to play and you just keep throwing hand traps at each other. I don't find that very enjoyable. Like basically, whenever I'm watching a Snake Eye deck in action, I'm really enjoying it. Or also when I'm playing it myself, I'm really enjoying it when both players actually get to play, right? Like when it's not just like hand trap, pass turn, hand trap, pass turn until someone runs out of hand traps or ways to play the game, right? That I don't find very enjoyable. Whether that's going to be the final thing in this format or not is something we have to wait and see. I'm going to try to find ways around it, but I'm not sure if it's going to work, obviously. So we're going to have to wait and see. If that's how it ends up being, then I'm not going to enjoy it. Yeah, then I'm not going to enjoy the format. I mean, it's just started. Let's wait and see. But for now, the current approach, it doesn't matter how fun the Snake Eye engine is when both players don't get to play. That's not gonna, like, it's not gonna matter, right? You're not gonna see interactive gameplay when the main focus is on not letting that happen.
Pretty standard, right? So 1 Karibo, 1 Nightmare Phoenix. The reason why you have to play Nightmare Phoenix is because of the fact that it like enables OTKs with Zelantis. So like it allowed you to like do basically kill your opponent on an empty board. And then Nightmare Phoenix also like helps you out floodgates and stuff like that. It was absolutely like insane for me. I'm really glad I played it. Dark Charmer and Hida were like insane in our list because of the fact that we played Lullaby of Obedience. Like this card was absolutely like crazy because
playing around hand trap seems fun though, knowing what sequence to try and pick. It can. I think it can be fun. I think the only hand trap, to be fair, I only associate with fun playing around is really Nibiru. Like, I think figuring out lines to play through Nibiru and so on and so forth, I think is fun. But I think first thing, like the simpler hand traps like Imperm and Veiler are like not that, you know, like it can be fun baiting any singular hand trap and figuring a way through. But what I would agree with what Omni is saying. Like when everyone is on like critical mass of hand traps and you have to expect like 2 to 3 of them things, it's like, you know, like at a certain point you just lose the leverage. Like you don't have the ability to play through 3 or 4. Like it's not really going to be rewarding, because like there's not really a way unless your opponent at that point you're just hoping for your opponent to misplay essentially, right? Not even mentioning cards like Cross Out Designator, Triple Tactics Talents, or Called by the Grave in the mix. Yeah.
Like when you activate Lullaby of Obedience, you take a card from your opponent's deck like Snake Eye Ash or like Witch, and then you put it in their graveyard when you link off with it. Which then the dark, you can then use the Dark or the Heater to take like the card you summon off Lullaby. So then you're able to go for free Dark Celine plays, free Dark into a Princess play, do whatever you need to do, right? So I thought that was really nice. IP Masquerena, because you know, it's part of the combo, and it's like usually typically on part of your end board, so I thought it was really nice. SP Little Knight, because
31.
you know, it's just like really, really strong removal. 1 Promethean, you don't really need 2. I think 1 is enough because you have like 2 Flambridges, which basically is the second Promethean.
33.
Selene, Raging Phoenix. Selene is a god card. Free Apollo, I guess. Appaloosa. 1 Zelantis, and then I think that's pretty much it. You'll notice that we don't play Amble Whale because
my eyes hurt.
much, like the only time you ever summon Amble Whale is
it's like every time you watch a pack deck profile, I can't help but think that's a lot of money, but I still don't think it looks better than the other. Like I still prefer regular secrets over quarter centuries. Like I can't help it.
Is when you like get drolled, and like that.
The Apollo
really
is 34. No, the
like,
Apollo is Starlight. The Apollo is Starlight, and Starlights I actually find sick. Like Starlights are insanely pretty, but I don't like quarter centuries as much.
Like I guess
the
like,
Apollo is Starlight. It doesn't count.
You rather have Raging. You rather like get the extra utility off the flex spot, in the extra deck, and I think like the Typhon came up way more for me. I wanted to, yeah, I didn't play Formula, Savage, and then Baron. I made a lot of these cards like quite easily because, like for example, there's some cool lines where you can like use Selene to bring back Veiler, right, or like bring back a Witch, or like go Selene, bring back Veiler, or like Witch.
Now it's like 35 or something.
Plus, like,
I lost count. It's the maximum result on the poll, anyways. We don't need to. We don't need to.
Floodgate through multiple
as always.
So like Selene was really crazy at like doing those type of lines. And then like obviously like you can like Selene back a Witch, I mean a Veiler, and you use Veiler plus Selene, I mean plus the Witch to make a Savage, and that also came up quite a lot, which I thought was really cool. And then yeah, Formula Synchron, just drawing you free cards and tagging out into like interruption on your opponent's turn. And then yeah, Baron, which was just honestly the MVP. Baron was so important because you just made it. You didn't always make it with like Savage Formula or like whatever. You mainly made Baron with like Witch and like a level 3 hand trap, which I thought was like insane. So yeah, so that was really nice. The last card is
what do you think of Impulse? You mean like Impulse as like a side deck option? Impulse with Fire Attacker or whatever it's called? I think it's fine. I just hate that. I mean, it's like kind of, I think it's comparable to Phantasme, and I think I would always play Phantasme before I would play Impulse, because Phantasme doesn't have a brick with it, right? It being fire is kind of awkward. That's true. Like, because you tribute it from your hand and it ends up in the graveyard, so they get a Hita for free. That seems worse. Yeah.
Typhon. This is good.
I don't think, for the record, I don't think a card being fire completely eliminates it from being playable in the format. Like, if the card offers you enough, you would still play it. And I would say Impulse, if it didn't come with the brick potential, then I'd be down to play it, right? But because it's a fire and it requires a brick in my deck, I'm not on board.
There's idea, but this was a card that kind of like came up in actually infinable deck building theory, where essentially like when we were hand trapping our opponents and fighting for resources, Typhon's a card that really shines on top in those type of game states. And Typhon's really neat is also because the moment you summon Typhon, because after you summon Typhon, you can't no more special summon anymore. One of the secret outs to like, I guess like summon limit is that you like normal summon Populous, you put Typhon on top, right, and then you can use Typhon to like attack over the princess or like bounce the princess or whatever, and then because you can't summon anymore off Typhon, you then use Lullaby to like guarantee add you a hand trap. Like
that's also funny.
Or like a Veiler or something along
the fact that the fact that Typhon also not only Promethean but Typhon also has synergy with Lullaby is funny,
which is like really nasty. So
I think the extra deck from this deck is relatively like the what is not so special about this extra deck is the cards that are there. What is special about this extra deck is the card that is not there, which is specifically interesting in the case of Amblo Whale, right? The fact that Amblo Whale isn't there is interesting because that's what everyone has considered a staple up until this point. I also had it in all of my versions of the Snake Eye deck, and the more I look at it, the more I feel like he's got a point in taking it out, because like in Fire King, I think you need it. Without Fire King, you don't have that many great ways to trigger its destruction effect, right? And you could argue you can also just, I mean, you can just make a, like, my biggest usage for Amblo Whale is just to get Promethean Princess into the graveyard, right? That's my main use for the card. Like, I summon Promethean, bring back Flamberge, put something into the spell and trap zone, and then I just want that Promethean Princess in the graveyard for its disruptive effect, right? So all you really need is a link monster that's a fire that you can link into, right? Which you can also make Salamangreat Raging Phoenix, which is also good in the graveyard. Like, you summon it and then eventually it hits the graveyard and then you're happy, right? Because it's in the graveyard. You can also make, like, I mean, you have Hita, you have, was there Sunlight Wolf? I think there was, I'm not entirely sure, but there may have been. Nightmare Phoenix, technically you can make it, right? So like you have, oh, there's no Sunlight Wolf. Okay, there was no Sunlight Wolf. Okay, yeah. So those are the kind of cards though that I was referring to earlier when I said if you take out Jet Synchron, you have access to those kind of cards, right? Which are they're not infinitely valuable, like a Sunlight Wolf or an Amblo Whale or any sort of those cards, right? Like they're not insanely important, but they are nice to have, right? They are nice to have. You know, your these kind of cards, right? Sunlight Wolf, Heat Soul package, that kind of stuff, right?
I thought that was like kind of neat. But yeah, like it's just like was another really strong alternative, and I thought this card was like absolutely insane. It came up for me like twice during the entire YCS, but it was good enough to like win me, like it won me those games, so I thought it was like just still worth it to play. But yeah, that's gonna be pretty much the deck profile, guys. If you guys want to see
it's definitely, I think it's a well thought out deck, and I like it, and I think if you want my opinion, I think it is better than the Fire King version of the deck. I don't think the Fire King version of Snake Eye at the moment is better in the TCG. The thing is that I don't like the gameplay that this is going to provide. Like, as soon as if this becomes the standard for Snake Eye decks, I don't think the gameplay is going to be great. I think if this is what ends up happening for the remaining weeks or months of this format, however long we have, right? I don't know. Then this is not going to be a format that I'm going to look back on very fondly, right? Like, I'm the type of person, I usually find ways to enjoy tier 0 formats, but not always. It's not always possible, right? And that is usually when the tier 0 mirror match is bad, right? And I think that the mirror match with exactly this deck is not great. Like with 18 hand traps, or what is like 17 hand traps in the main deck, cross out designator in the mix, talents is in a lot of people's decks, all that stuff. Like, I just don't find that super enjoyable. So we'll see, right? So Snake Eye itself as an engine I find fun, but it's not fun when you hand trap each other to death, right?